The Roush Cold Air will be for the 11 to 14 5-liter truck owners out there looking to go with an extremely popular, no tune required cold air intake from one of the most trusted names in Ford aftermarket tuning. Now this thing will help you pick up a little bit more power, a little bit more sound, and even throttle response in the process for just north of 300 bucks. Installation, gonna get a very simple 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter from me when it does come time to talk about the install, which we will do a little later in the video. So cold air intakes like this continue to be an awesome choice for many owners out there because they're gonna be very easy to install and will also provide you with some benefits, one of which being more power. Now Roush claims about 10 horsepower and 10 foot-pounds of torque with their kit installed on your 5-liter truck, and in my opinion, guys, that's going to be a very realistic claim from a manufacturer. The reality is cold air intakes by themselves without a tune aren't going to deliver earth-shattering gains all alone. So with that being said though, 10 and 10 is certainly pretty solid given the simplicity of the modification. But let's talk about how the Roush will help you produce more power and torque when compared to your factory airbox. And it all comes down to freeing up restriction. In fact, Roush claims about 31% less restriction with this particular cold air in place, and less restriction usually equates to more power, and that certainly will be the case here. But let's switch gears and talk about the construction with the Roush intake. And listen guys, if you've had a Roush part before or you're familiar with the company, you know where I'm going with this, right? Awesome quality, great materials, and an even better fitment. You will be receiving a reusable high flow filter here from Roush in addition to the top portion of their airbox, which will actually utilize the lower portion of your factory airbox. Finally, your rotomolded plastic intake tube and all of the couplers and hardware needed for the installation. But let's move on into the installation briefly with the Roush Cold Air. And like I mentioned at the very top of this video, guys, if you have some basic hand tools laying around the house, including a T20 Torx tool and a socket set, you should be able to get this one knocked out in about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on your expertise and just how fast you like to work. So that's why I'm gonna go 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter here. Anyone should be able to tackle this one in their driveway or garage with ease. Getting started, you will need to remove the factory intake tube and upper portion of the airbox first using a socket set or your flathead screwdriver. Basically disconnect the clamp at the throttle body, remove all of your hose connections from your factory intake tube, disconnect the mass airflow sensor, and then unclip the top portion of that airbox, removing it and the filter and the intake tube all at one time. Once the factory stuff is out of the way, go ahead and transfer over your mass airflow sensor and start assembling the Roush Cold Air on a table or a workbench first. Typically, I like to assemble the air filter into the airbox, get your clamps and everything ready to go on your intake tube before the install. Once you're ready to rock and roll, simply drop the air filter and airbox portion into place, and then tighten up your clamps at the throttle body with the intake tube, and of course at the mass airflow housing. Reconnect all your hoses, plug in your mass airflow sensor, and your installation is complete. So wrapping this one up here, guys, the Roush is an extremely popular, extremely well-made intake that will add some power and sound for around 300 bucks, and you can grab one for your rig right here at AmericanTrucks.com.